the launch of Apex Legends Season 18 for Revenant Reborn. We actually got a bunch of new weapon changes. New weapons that went out of the care package and into the care package. A bunch of weapons that got changed out into the floor loot and put into the crafting rotation. And a bunch of other reworks and changes to some other weapons. So I think it's that time again where we do another weapons tier list. I do apologize as well. I wanted to get this video out earlier, but I was just kind of wanted to play the game a little bit more to get a better grasp on the weapons, because unlike the legend changes, I think that at least the most important thing for Season 18 was the weapons this season. I think the weapons changed a lot more than even a lot of the legends actually did. So, if you guys like these videos, leave a like, subscribe, share the video. I'm going to get right into this. Keep in mind, too, this is mainly 100% opinionated. This is all my opinion. I play Apex on Switch, and I'm your average, mid-tier to average type player. It's kind of what this list is going to be for. If you have God tier aim, you can make any single weapon in the game work. But this is going to be mainly a list based off of how consistent a weapon is. Because at least for me, if you can't land any shots on a weapon, it doesn't pay even picking it up if you're better off picking up something else. The main thing for me with a weapon that I like is consistency and being able to at least do damage and at least put in work with a weapon. That's the main thing. So, get right into this. I'll throw the list on screen for you guys right now. I'm going to go through every single weapon. Unlike the legend tiers where I kind of went through it really fast, I'm going to go through every single weapon on here. There's going to be some that I don't really talk about very much because they haven't changed or they worth really talking about, but I will be doing every one. Havoc, I think out of the energy weapons, it's just a mid-tier weapon. I think if you want an LMG right now, I think it's just an A tier. It's a little bit better with turbocharger, but if you need to take this thing to off drop or even to mid game, it can work even late game. It's still pretty solid. Really solid damage. The recoil is a little bit iffy, but overall, I think out of the energy weapons, it's one of the better ones right now. Nemesis is great, but the problem with the Nemesis right now, and the reason why I'm not going to put it high on the list, is because it's in the crafting rotation and it's locked behind the crafter. If you want an energy weapon right now, you're better off picking up either the Havoc or the Volt or the Triple Take. I think if you want an energy weapon right now, there's just no reason really crafting the Nemesis, and there's just so many better options, especially with stuff like the Hemlock and a bunch of other stuff going back to the ground with the Rampage and a few other things to give you some more options. I probably put this thing, it's still a really good weapon, but the only reason I'm going to put it in A tier is because it's in the crafter, and you're forced to craft this thing if you actually want to use it. Apart from that, though, I think it's still really good. If it was not in the crafter, I'd probably put it an S tier, because I think it's still incredibly good. Volt SMG, S tier. Probably the best energy weapon in the entire game, and probably one of the top 2 SMGs in the game. I'm going to put the car SMG also in S tier. I think it's 100% probably the second best SMG in the game right now, without how good both of these are. They really are. They're just incredibly good. I think the only other SMG that's probably close to these two right now would probably be the Alternator, which I'd probably put in A+ tier. If you guys don't know, the Alternator actually got Disruptor rounds for this season. If you guys don't know what Disruptor rounds is, it pretty much I think it's double or triple shield damage. So whatever the enemy shield has, it just melts their shield. It still does the same amount of health damage, but shields pretty much don't exist. You just instantly melt anybody's shield, whether it's a red shield, a blue shield, whatever it is, it's gone instantly. And I think it's really consistent. I think with the addition of the hop-up of Disruptor rounds, I think the Alternator right now is probably the best it's ever been in the last 6 or 7 seasons, which is crazy. Only one little hop-up change made it that much better, and one of the best SMGs in the game. If you can't find a Volt or you can't find a car, you're going to be picking up the Alternator, especially if you can find Disruptor. I think it's incredibly good right now. Next, you got the Devotion. I'm throwing the Devotion in F tier. This gun's garbage. There is no reason to be using the Devotion when the Rampage and there's a few other LMGs like the Spitfire right now that are really good. There's no reason to be playing this thing. L-Star is care package tier. I'm putting that in S tier. All the care package weapons I think are probably going to be throwing into S tier just because they're all care package weapons. If you're going to be finding them, you're going to probably pick them up the majority of the time. L-Star is incredibly good. Triple take, I think, is for a marksman weapon is probably A tier right now. Still really consistent and still really good. Nothing with it's really changed that much. Flatline, I'm going to put it in A plus tier. Still really good. Nothing with it's changed very much. The Prowler got put into the care package with automatic fire. This is probably the best, like, if I guess all the other ones are like on the floor loot and stuff, but like if you're talking like best SMG in the game, the one that's in the care package, I guess technically is the best SMG with the Prowler with the automatic fire. They also buff the damage, I think, by 2 per bullet, which is crazy. This thing can legit one clip red shields. Somebody that has full health and red shields, it can legit one clip. That is how good this thing is. If you see this thing in a care package or in somebody's death box with a decent amount of ammo left, you pick it up every single time. It's just better than almost anything in the game right now. If anything, probably the Prowler might actually be the best weapon in the entire game, if I'm being real with you guys. Just because it's in the care package, like I gotta put the other ones in the same level because it's difficult to find in the care package. Rampage is out of the crafter and back on the floor loot. I actually think this thing's really good. I think the Rampage is really good. I'm going to put it at an A tier because it is kind of situational depending on what you want to run alongside it and what you can find in the match. But if you can get this thing fully kitted and you can find a couple thermites just carry throughout the game, this thing's really good, especially early game. If you find a Rampage off drop, like everybody has gray shields, this thing just melts people with gray shields, especially it's really good early game. Late game, it can kind of fall off a little bit if you don't have it fully thermite charged. But apart from that, it's still really, really good. The only problem is, like, I think there's one other better LMG right now, which is the Spitfire, which I probably put it like S tier. That's the only reason why the Rampage isn't that good, because the Spitfire is back to being probably one of the best LMGs, if not the best LMG in the entire game. I guess apart from the L-Star, which is in the care package, I don't know if that counts, but the Spitfire got buffed. They gave it barrel stabilizers back. They gave it less, I think, recoil, and like 1 or 2 other small changes. It's back to being great, y'all. Glad the Spitfire is back. It's really fun to use, and I missed using it. I really did. I think the last time it was actually good was like season 10 or 11, before it got completely gutted and they completely nerfed the shit out of the thing. 30-30 repeater, probably the most consistent, best marksman in the game. I'll put that in an A+ tier. Just really good, solid damage, really fast reload, really decent mobility for a marksman. R301, I'm going to put in an A+ tier. The problem with the R301 is it kind of lacks damage. It's really easy to use, and it's probably one of the most easy to use weapons in the game, but it's just lacking on a little bit of damage, especially if you can't get it fully kitted. If you can only find like a base or like a tier 1 light mag and a tier 1 kitting for this thing, it's not really too good. You got to get this thing fully kitted to actually do a decent amount of damage. R99 got the shit nerf out of it. I'm putting it in C tier. I do not think it's good at all. There's no reason you should be using the R99 when there's so many other better SMGs in the game right now and so many other better options. I know I'm going to get hate for that. I know I will. There's going to be somebody, oh, the R99's great, bro. What are you doing? Why are you putting it in C tier? It's not great anymore. They nerfed it too much. P2020, even with hammer points, this thing sucks. If you're not off drop, you're not going to be using this thing at all, especially with no hammer points. It's garbage. And normally I'm somebody that actually really likes P2020, but for this season, at least from what I've played so far, I can't get this thing to work at all. And if anything, it's gotten me killed way more than I've actually did anything with it. G7, it lost double tap. I'm putting it in a B tier. If you really need a marksman and you can't find anything else, it's decent. It has the fastest fire rate out of all the marksman weapons in the game. But like without double tap, this thing's not that good. Kraber, S tier, care package weapon. Pick it up if you see it. Bow check. Should be on the ground loot. I wish it was on the ground loot, but it's in the care package. Still really good. S tier. The Hemlock is on the ground loot now, and I actually think it's really solid. I think that the Hemlock being for like a ground loot weapon is probably the best it's been in ever since it's been on the ground loot ever. I think when it was first released way back in the day, it was really good, but then they nerfed it a long time ago, and it's been garbage up until now. If you actually like the Hemlock, I think the Hemlock right now, y'all, without it being in the care package, is probably the best it's been. So if you guys want to play the Hemlock and you guys like this weapon, pick it up. It's actually really, really good. I think it's kind of just a debate on whether you want the Hemlock for a heavy weapon right now as an AR or like the Flatline. kind of between those two. At least me, I kind of prefer the flatline, just because I have a lot more experience playing that weapon, but both are really good right now. I've done really good with both. RE45, this thing's garbage. Even with hammer points, there's no reason to play this thing. Really bad. Wingman, this is kind of a skill-dependent weapon. I'm going to put it in an A tier because it comes down to player skill. If you're like me and you only land maybe like 2 or 3 shots out of an entire mag of 6 or 7 or up to like 9, maybe like 4 out of 9 shots in a full like purple mag, then it's kind of average. It has boosted loader, but it got rid of skull piercer for this update, so I don't know if it's really as good either. I mean, boosted loader ain't bad on it, but I'd rather have skull piercer. Yeah, I think it's a lot better for this thing. Comes down to whatever the player is, though. Like, if you're really god tier aim at the wingman, it's still one of the best weapons in the game, but I'm gonna put it in A tier because it's skill dependent. I'll talk about the charge rifle last. EVA 8, this thing sucks. Do not pick this gun up. It is probably the worst shotgun, if not one of the worst guns in the entire game. Mastiff, I'm going to put it in A+ tier. It got its spread tightened. It's also actually a lot more consistent than it was last season. Peacekeeper got disruptor rounds. This is the best shotgun in the entire game. I don't know, I think that one of the most broken guns that is not a care package gun right now is probably the Peacekeeper. This thing's going to 100% be getting nerfed. There was also one of the devs that said they're looking at the gun and they're already going to possibly nerf it here in the next couple weeks with like a mini balance patch or whenever they put out the new update or like a mini update for bug fixes and whatever. If you guys know what the problem with the Peacekeeper right now is, it has disruptor rounds. A base shot, like a fully charged shot, if you land all your pellets, I think is like 100 damage. With disruptor rounds, you pretty much one-tap any shield in the game. Plus do a little bit of damage extra. So it's crazy. I think the Peacekeeper right now is like the only weapon that is not a Kraber or like a charge rifle, and I think maybe like max range. Even then, like, I don't think there's anything that can actually like one-shot through a red shield. I think the Peacekeeper right now is like the only weapon that can one-shot through a red shield with a headshot. It is fucking crazy with disruptor rounds. Needs to be nerfed. I don't know how many times I've gotten one-tapped from even with like blue or purple shields by a Peacekeeper with disruptor. It is fucking crazy and it is so busted. I don't know who thought it was going to be a good idea to put that into the game. Disruptor's balanced on alternator. It is busted, broken on the Peacekeeper. That needs to be nerfed. Mozambique is in the crafter this patch. I think if you want to craft it though, it's an A tier. And even if you want to craft Mozambique for the hammer point, a lot of people don't actually know this, but if you need the hop up for hammer point for like an RE45 or a P2020 for some reason, you can actually craft a Mozambique and remove the hammer point from it for whatever weapon else you want, which is the first time they've ever done that for a crafting weapon this season, which I think is really cool and a lot of people don't actually know. Believe me, I didn't know it either until I tried it myself. And I was like, wow, I guess they added this and this was never in the patch notes. So, it's kind of a little bonus there. Longbow, I think, is really good. It's probably the middle of the pack sniper rifle right now. Nothing crazy, nothing with it to really change, but it's kind of just A tier. I think if we want a sniper right now, the best non-care package sniper rifle right now is the Sentinel. You're doing 70 damage for body shots. Non-charged, I think shots are 126. A fully charged shot is 158 damage with a headshot, which is crazy. It's really solid. Really, I think that the sniper right now, I think the Sentinel, at least out of my arsenal of weapons, is probably the most consistent, one of the most consistent weapons, at least that I play. It's crazy good right now. It really is. Just carry a couple extra shield cells and charge this thing up every time you're about to get into a fight and you just do crazy amounts of damage to open up a fight. It gives you so much of an advantage going into a team fight as well. Or just being able to like sit there and farm your evil shield is really good for that as well. Really solid weapon. And then we got the charge rifle, which is probably the biggest blunder on Respawn's part in I don't know how many seasons, probably like the past 5 or 6 seasons, ever since they tried to rework any weapon. They completely ruined the charge rifle. This thing is garbage. I know there's going to be somebody that says, oh, well, the charge rifle ain't that bad, man. You're just garbage at the game. I don't ask anybody else that played the charge rifle too. I think charge rifle had at least before this, had like one of the highest like pick rates or like play rates for like one of the weapons in the game. Now I think it has probably one of the lowest after the rework. I don't see anybody using this thing. I'll be honest with you guys, like I've had a few people use it in ranks and everything. There's a few times that I got one tapped by it because I think at 300 range with a headshot it does like 180 something damage, so it can one shot you through like a blue or a purple shield. But the only times that it's one shotted me at that range is because I either got third partied by it or I was playing really stupid and I peeked out from behind cover for like a split second and I got one tapped with a headshot. And that was mainly my fault. The problem with this thing is the bullet drop on this thing is fucking crazy. The only reason you're going to be using the charge rifle is for like medium range. And if you want a medium range gun, you pick up a marksman rifle or even like an AR is even better. I would rather pick up a medium range gun like the triple take or the 30-30, even like the G7 Scout for like a medium range gun than the charge rifle. At medium range, you're doing around about, I think, 77 damage or something around there for body shots. And then for like a headshot, it's like a 99 or 100 something damage, something around there at like medium range. A lot of people also don't know either is like your damage, like it caps at 300 meters. So if you go beyond 300 meters, you're not getting any more damage. Your damage scales up until that point, and it does not go beyond 300 meters. So yeah, you can do a shit ton of damage at 300 meters, but like, is it actually worth trying to just get that range to even do that amount of damage? Or you can just pick something else that's more consistent damage, and you don't have to deal with like probably the worst bullet drop in the entire game out of any weapon, at least for the snipers. It is crazy. Another problem with this weapon too is like the charge time. I think it's really, it needs a bit of a buff. I think it's slightly too slow for like the damage you do get from the thing. I really do. I feel like it's just really vulnerable, especially if you're using it like medium range. It's just really difficult to use with how much bullet drop there is and everything else. It is really difficult to use. This went from being probably the best sniper in the entire game and one of the best weapons in the game for like the past 5-6 seasons to being probably the worst weapon in the entire game with one rework, which is really sad. Really sad. It really is. Now they can change that with some like minor buffs. Like they can decrease the bullet drop and they can increase the charge time and a few other things. Maybe some damage changes or something, but as of now, this weapon's probably the worst, one of the worst weapons in the entire game. I think it's the only thing that's probably worse than it is probably the P2020. I'd probably put the charge rifle as probably the second worst weapon in the entire game. That is how bad this thing is. I think another real problem with it as well is that it's just really difficult to see like your bullet drop. It's just really difficult to see like your bullet, especially at like long ranges where it's actually dropping. Yeah, unlike the Sentinel, like you can see your bullet like where you're shooting all the way half the way across the map. With the charge rifle, for some reason, once it gets like decent amount of like a length away from you, it's really difficult to see where your bullet is actually traveling to be able to compensate for your bullet drop, which is really weird as well. I don't know why it works like that, but I don't know about you guys. Let me know what you guys think of the charge rifle rework in the comments down below, but I think it was an absolute failure. And probably out of everything for Season 18 was probably the worst thing we've gotten for Season 18 was the charge rifle rework. This thing, it completely got killed the weapon, which kind of sucks. Like I said, it went from being one of the top played, like, best weapons in the game for I don't know how long now, up until now getting reworked and being probably the worst, probably the second worst weapon in the entire game. If you guys see this thing, if you're not off drop and you just don't want to carry this thing as like a placeholder for like any of the other snipers, I wouldn't pick it up at all. It's garbage. If anything, you're kind of just wasting your time and you're either going to end up getting killed by it or you're killed carrying it and trying to use it, or you're just better off picking up something else. That's kind of where the charge rifle is right now. It's just garbage. There's no reason to use this thing. Until it gets major buffs or it gets reverted back to what it was, which I don't think they'll ever do because the pro players are in Respawn's ear telling them how to balance the game for some reason. Otherwise, they'll complain and they'll cry a river down and they'll go on Twitch, oh man, they aren't balancing this game right. The game's boring, the game sucks, blah, blah, blah. in reality, the pro players are like the minority of all the players in the game, which I don't know why they always listen to them, but that's an entirely different video. That is the entire list, y'all. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Overall, the weapon balance for this season isn't too bad. There's a few outliers like the Peacekeeper, the Charge Rifle, and a few other things that I think need some changes. But apart from that, not really too bad. It could be worse. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, leave a like, subscribe, share the video. Really appreciate it. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, everybody.